in the UK, you've got two kind of different groups of people, really. You've got the country folk, and then you've got city folk. You know, you've got some people who love being in the city. They love their iPads, they love their computers, they love their smartphones, they love the gadgets and the gizmos and the technology and the bright lights and the holograms and the fast cars and the shiny smooth surfaces. And they are not going to be happy about this. And then you've got obviously some people who, you know, sort of a bit in both worlds, but now they're just like, oh, well, you know, we're out in the country, you know, we'll have to just grow more of our own food and stuff again. And so it's, you know, it's just those two different, for one group of people, they just can't wait for everything to go back to normal. And then you got the other group of people who are just basically taking on board what's going on and, you know, and just doing what they can. I mean, the garden centres show actually that everyone who's in the country now is like, right, we need to start growing our own food. Like, I'm seeing it, it's obvious.
We were talking about emergency foraging because when we're up in the moors, we were looking at that tree line out there that was a good mile and a half away, ripping winds, freezing rain up there. And, you know, how do you get past that? How do you get from that fence line off the rocks where there's no protection whatsoever in the fields up there out to a tree line to tuck yourself in the back? And what can you find along the way? Like right now it's dandelion season out here. So I've been experimenting with the dandelion flowers, trying to boil the sap out of the dandelion, smaller dandelion leaves to make them into something edible. Just trying to pick up a few things around. There's wild mustard plants now. There's wild onions, wild garlic, and there's all kind of stuff that's coming out, especially the flowers that are coming out. Everything's flowering right now. So you can just hibiscus and you can just cruise around and find different things that are edibles here wild. So I've been going around the neighbor's place and through the neighborhood with my book and going, can I eat that? Can I eat that? Can I eat that?
Cool. Yeah, dandelion is that grows everywhere, absolutely everywhere. Do you get nettles over there? You got stinging nettles?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we got thistle, we got nettles and thistles both.
Yeah. So what about primrose? You get their little yellow primrose flowers? Oh, they're so
You do,
good.
but
Yeah.
it's somebody would have to plant them. It's not a wild thing here so much.
And the garlics over here we get the ramson, which looks basically just like a big long tongue, really, really stinks, white flower. And then you get the three-sided leek, which looks like a bluebell with a white flower, except it hasn't got a round stem, it's got a triangular stem. That's the reason it's called the three-sided leek. And then there's another one that's called Jack by the Hedge, which is kind of like a heart-shaped leaf. And that's nice as well. But yeah, they're everywhere at the moment. The nettles, the primrose, the dandelions, the ferns are coming out. Even the picnuts are starting. Like, everything's just going crazy at the moment. But big time at the moment. You can easily live off nettles, ramson, Jack by the Hedge, primrose. The goosegrass is coming out. The hairy bittercress is out in full. Yeah, it's a really good. Yeah, you could easily live off the plants now. And I was even chewing on some grass today, actually. Once I sampled a couple of different wild foods, I then put some quite big grass in my mouth and just sort of chewed it up and got the juice out. And I tell you what, it tasted awesome. Grass tastes amazing. Like when you put a few bitter ones in your mouth and it's a bit, once you get the grass in there, my God, you know, I didn't actually realise until today just actually how damn fine grass really tastes. That's why I guess the cows don't mind eating it all day long.
Yeah, because I got a couple pounds of barley and rye and wheat also. So those are just dried seeds. But to turn those in sprouting trays into the grass and then, you know, cut that stuff ends up growing with just in a week or so.
Super abundant. I've got a book to show you actually, and this is actually the book that I reckon, like, this would be the number one book that I would recommend for anybody who wants to get into wild foraging. Is you see that Botany in a Day? Get it up on. What I really, really, really particularly love about this book is it gives you the families and then it gives you the similarities in the families and what to look for. Like, for instance, in the mint family, everything in the mint family has a square stem and then alternate leaves where they come out opposite each other. And everything in the mint family is edible. So just from one little tiny bit of information, now you know loads of edible plants. That's what I really love about this book, is it gives you the similarities in the families. And then once you can spot a few of those, you're away. You know, it's a really, really, really good book. It's probably good to have a few different books to kind of cross reference.
Yeah, because eventually people will be planting weeds, and you have a full yard full of weeds, like a full yard full of nettles and dandelions, and people eat the weeds, plant the weeds.
Well, all of the wild foods are way more nutritious, way more nutritious than all of the most of the sort of hybridized plants these days that we eat. They got way more minerals in them and way more vitamins. And obviously, I remember when you came over, I was always banging on about minerals and how important they are, because your adrenal glands that sit on top of your kidneys produce 51 hormones every single day, and they need minerals to do that. And there's a lot of things in your body that need the minerals. So these wild foods are way better. And the other thing I really like about them as well is not so much stuff wants to eat them, and they really don't, they don't need any looking after. Like the hybridized plants are really quite, they can be a bit fussy about what soil they're in, a bit fussy at the pH, and then of course everything wants to eat them. And if the weather's not quite right, they're a little bit, and then they don't have as much goodness in them at the end of the day. So I'm a real wild food advocate, and obviously it's free and it's just out there. Yeah, get into it, definitely.
Yeah, and also Native American Indians here in the United States would, once they found a patch of something growing, blueberries or whatever, they would clear all the brush around it so that could continue to expand. And then they had edible walk through forests, and after 300 years of doing that, of multiple generation after generation after generation. So when the explorers come over here and they're like, hey, nobody barters or trades anything. They barely even grow. They don't have, row agriculture. Well, they didn't need it. They had curated the forest for 300 or 400 years to get it to this state where they didn't need the agriculture that we understand. They didn't need to barter anything because it was all free, and there was nothing for them. Like, hey, free water. Oh, okay, cool. Air, water, food. What else can you give us? We already make our own tools, skins, blankets, and everything like you talked about, sheepskin, sleeping bags, whatever. Like, what was the really tradable for them? Eventually they wanted to get gunpowder or something. That's it. But before that,
Yeah,
they told them to take a flying leap before that, because they had everything.
yeah,
They didn't need anything when they come over. The explorers had
I
nothing to offer
love
them. Zero.
I love that philosophy, the way they used to live. I think that's brilliant. Yeah, just what already is going to naturally grow. You don't have to tender to it or fence it in, or have to own it or whatever. You just be a caretaker for the earth, basically. You just spread the seeds, look after that, pull the dead wood off of there. Keep the rivers clean. Just be a caretaker for the earth, and it will just give you everything that you need. Like, I always find it quite funny when people are trying to create this free energy, and it's like, well, it was already done for us a long time ago. It's called the sun.
So how do you think people in the UK are going to get by? The same thing's happening here. People just aren't used to being told to stay indoors or like step over to the left and, hey, I can do whatever I want. And the whole experience in Costco is very much like going through the TSA, which is, to get into an American airport, you got to step through here. The only thing that was missing out of the Costco buying experience was the scanner that I would have had to stand in. Otherwise, I could have been in an airport and it was 90% the same. Everybody line up over here, 10 at a time over here. Carts got to be 6 feet apart. And if you got too close, they're like, hey, they started yelling at you like, too close, back up, everybody back up. This aisle, you can only go this way. Oh, you're going the wrong way down the aisle. Go stand over here. Oh, okay, stand behind the yellow line. Okay, number 7 counter, numbers. It was like the exact same thing as either going through immigration or going through a TSA checkpoint minus the scanner, and if it's going to be like that for food, and it really was super inconvenient. So I really don't want to go through that experience again. So most people won't. It's going to change our
Yeah,
buying habits to going out maybe once a week to get what we need instead of daily. Again, back to that whole narrative. You don't need your cars. You only need them once a week. You get a once a week driving permit. If you're caught outside not driving on the wrong day once a week, you get a ticket. So how do you think people in the UK are going to fare through this? Because I know Americans are having a very difficult time at the moment trying to deal with it.
well, in the UK, you've got two kind of different groups of people, really. You've got the country folk, and then you've got city folk. You've got some people who love being in the city. They love their iPads, they love their computers, they love their smartphones, they love the gadgets and the gizmos and the technology and the bright lights and the holograms and the fast cars and the shiny smooth surfaces. And they are not going to be happy about this. And then you've got obviously some people who, sort of a bit in both worlds, but now they're just like, oh, well, we're out in the country, we'll have to just grow more of our own food and stuff again. And So it's, you know, it's just those two different, for one group of people, they just can't wait for everything to go back to normal. And then you got the other group of people who are just basically taking on board what's going on, and, you know, and just doing what they can. I mean, the garden centres show actually that everyone who's in the country now is like, right, we need to start growing our own food. Like, I'm seeing it, it's obvious.
The bulk seed kind of thing, and I'm not going for the little pack. I'm going for the pounds,
Oh,
two
no
pound,
way.
5 pound bags. Yeah, I've got the peas, different kind of peas, all kind of stuff. Because I think
How
seeds are
many?
going to be
Mm.
tradable in the future. Because I swear, man, if you can't grow food, you're going to die in this time. I tell you what, we're
Yeah,
at the end of it
basically,
right
yeah.
now.
And for me, then I guess I'm the sort of step sort of just beyond the country man, where I've just basically, all, you know, years and years and years, I've just wanted to be completely self-sufficient. I remember I had this realization once that, like, oh my God, if I haven't got money and I can't get my food from Tesco, I'm in big trouble. And it's like the thought of Tesco controlling my life, I couldn't have that. I just couldn't have that. Like, it just didn't sit right with me. So that's why I was just blessed to come across the primitive skills and all the stuff that I've learned. You know, I took it to the level as well where, you know, like, you could have your bushcraft pack and your boots and whatever and stuff like that, and, you know, you'd be all good. But what if you lose your boots? What if you lose your knife? What if you lose all of your kit? You know, that's where my mind went, is what if I get stripped naked and I've got nothing? What am I going to do then? So that's why I was pleased that I learned that, you know, I mean, the thing I got most excited about, I'll admit, I've loved leather. Leather's an amazing material. But when I found out that you could literally mix a hide in the right kind of tree bark and it makes leather, I was just like, oh my God, that's the most amazing thing I've ever heard. That's so, you mean I can get an animal skin and some tree bark and it will bond together and make real leather, and then I can make boots, clothes, a tent, I can make a belt, I can make a rope, I can make sheaves, I can make gloves. This is like, this is freedom. You know, for me, that's freedom. That's true freedom. I mean, that's kind of what I guess, you know, I wish the vegans would wake up a little bit to, is that if you live in a cold climate and you're going to be outdoors, there is only one material that you can really have wrapped around your body, and that's leather, because it lasts, it keeps the wind out, it keeps you from getting scratched up, it protects you, and it is so tough. I mean, that's why the motorbikers wear it. If you're going to fall off a motorbike and slide down the road, use leather. It's amazing stuff. Yeah, I'm crazy fan of leather. Obviously, you need something underneath it like wool or something like that to keep you warm as well. But leather, for anybody who's a keen outdoorsman, or, I mean, actually, you know what, the situation we're in now, because it's so crazy, I actually recommend is that people go and get themselves some decent leather clothing, because it will last you your lifetime. It's what he says in that movie Fight Club, I think, and he says, you will wear leather clothes that will last a lifetime. And he's absolutely right. So the leathers to go for, goat skin is amazing. Goat's thin enough for clothing, but super strong, like really strong. Deer skin's good, and the amazing properties of deer skin is not only is it super tough, but it's got a lot of stretch in it. And that's not something you find in very many leathers. It seems to be sort of in deer, elk, bison, moose, reindeer, those kind of animals, really strong leather, but super stretchy. Stay away from lambskin. It's not very tough at all. Obviously, sheepskins are great insulation and make good insulation for clothing, but for durability, lambskin and sheepskin, big no-no. Cowhide, yeah, tough as nails, absolutely bulletproof. But yeah, I really urge people to go and get some decent leather clothing. It won't let you down. For once, I got attacked by a big German Shepherd security dog once, and I had a leather jacket on, and it saved my arm from being shredded. Like, this thing had clamped down on my arm and the teeth had bit through the jacket, but just didn't actually puncture my skin. Amazing stuff. Probably even stopped me from a knife attack as well. You know, I'm a leather worker, so I know trying to push a small pin with a very tiny little surface area. You know, you can't just push a pin through leather, even if it's only half a mil thick. It's that tough. So leather's going to save you, protect you, keep the wind out, keep you warm, and last for ages. And also, if you need to stitch it back together as well, it'll handle that, because you can punch a hole in it anywhere and it's super strong. Big leather fanatic, mate. And leather used to be popular And it's not anymore. You know, it's a shame. We used to have a tannery in every single town in the UK. Now I think there's, including Scotland, I think there's about 4, maybe 5 tanneries left, and that is it. So we've gone from thousands of tanneries to 4. Crazy. Don't get it. I don't understand. Amazing. Best material on the planet. Love it.
What's coming about all these, fiber fabrics that's super light and, go out camping and, get the Gore-Tex and all that stuff. So modern industry and chemical fabrics have replaced the natural. So I'm wondering when we
Yeah.
switch back to that again, because you had that sleeping bag that you'd made yourself. It was so incredibly soft. Was that a sheepskin sleeping bag? You had a couple of them.
Yeah, yeah. So it's 1 mil thick, like cowhide on the outside, like an upholstery hide. That's hand stitched into the sheepskin's shape, and then the sheepskins are glued into the inside of that. So it's amazing. It's one of the best things I've ever made. I don't know why I didn't do it years and years ago.
Yeah, because you were showing, how to just nick off a piece of rocks, then you can get a cutting blade or something to scrape, whether it be bark or skin or whatever, as long as you can chip that piece off and get a real, get some sort of edge on it. You were saying obsidian, Flint was even better, but you found a couple river rocks out there and chipped them off and made that nice point on it or something to be able to slice, chip, or to be able to scrape off something, dig a little bit, add all those uses for that single piece of rock, as long as you could find something that'll fracture along
You need
on
to
the
find the
rivers.
stones with the high pitch. When you clang the rocks together, if it's got a nice high pitch, basically the higher the pitch, the sharper the edge. And so I normally run around clanging stones together, and I'm always on the lookout for beautiful stones. It's amazing stuff. We're hoping to get my hands on some nice Dorset black flint soon, hopefully.
Yeah, that'll be the way to go because, everything we're talking about today, you can check out a few of the videos that I've put in my playlist here with John as well when we're running around the moors. A really great day up there, a couple days. And, just when we had this conversation a few months ago, I was saying, in the very near future, we're going to have to start using these skills. And here it is, not even 6 months, and we're back now needing to really in life start to use these skills. And that was the reason I was trying to bring a few of the videos out, was how important I thought it was for us to start to get ready as a community and start to throw some of these ideas around and really start to think about using them, put them into at least some daily practice. And then boom, now you're not daily practice because you want to, but you're going to be because you're forced to. So I don't know, the learning curve might be much steeper than people going out on a single weekend. Now it'll be 7 days a week for these kind of things. So, it might be a little bit easier for people to learn 7 days a week versus a few hours on a weekend, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, because everyone in the UK's got everyone's got the internet. So everyone's just going to be going out, buying the food. And if they're not sure, it's just the perfect time. I just go on YouTube and look how to do that, look how to plant that. What is that like? Everyone's going to be making full of advantage of that. But yeah, it's really interesting. I can't believe how just a couple of events, can change everything. I don't think people are going to be using stone tools for quite a long time, but I think it's a handy thing to know. Like that's more for if you're a true survivalist and you're thinking that you might be out somewhere and you're going to lose everything and you got to start from scratch. That's when the stone tools come in. But most people, you know, the steel tools are there. You might as well use them because they're, you get a lot more work done, put it like that, and a bit safer as well sometimes.
Yeah, it's just fun to know that you have the skill. And, the problem with the squirrels here trying to eat everything. And, now we got the pests where before you never thought about a pest in your life coming in to eat something that you're planted. Now you're like, don't even dare even eat that one seed right there,
Yeah. I had a funny experience recently, actually. I was storing like a little bit of pig food in like a wheelie bin, and that plastic on the wheelie bin is like really, really high density polyethylene plastic, 5 millimeters thick. And I never ever thought a rat would even bother to try and chew through it. And I opened up the bin a few weeks ago, and a rat had chewed through like the corner of it, where it's a centimeter thick. It chewed right through, got in there, and ate the whole lot. So I'm saying to people now, if you're going to store food, please put it in metal containers, especially if there's potential rats or mice are going to get to it. Because I've just learned a big lesson. I always used to say to people, if you're going to store the food, make sure you put it in like, really, really thick plastic tubs. Is where now I'm like, nah, don't worry about the plastic. If you really want to make sure it's secure, then get steel. You can get those big oil drums, you know, the big 220-litre oil drums. You
Yeah,
can get them
55 gallon.
delivered. Yeah, we can get them delivered over here for like £25. I was even in the shop the other day. I managed to pick one up for 15 pounds. It's cheaper than plastic anyway and way bigger. So yeah, go steel. Definitely go steel. I've learned my lesson now. I can't believe those rats, man. They're
Nasty
cheeky.
little rats. You know, in the garden centers too here, I read a couple articles about it down in New Zealand where those garden centers were stripped out clean, just like you're seeing in the stores where everybody's stripping the rice, beans, long-term food storage out of the stores, spaghetti's out, whatever in America, it's gone. You go in and you're looking at a bear, look like a vulture's been through picking the bones and the scraps are left. But the garden centers are starting to show the same thing. So I went off to Lowe's, this one garden center. It's a bigger one here in the States. Same thing. People have been running in and buying. It wasn't totally stripped, but you could definitely see the first inkling of it. They'd have big sections of a whole shelf that were gone. But these were the plants that were already grown up where you just need to put them in your yard. You know, tomato plants that were already grown up 2 months, or, you know, lettuces that were already this tall. And they're $2 or $3 each, but, you know, those things were selling out, and the amount of dirt and soil enhancer and lime and all these other kind of stuff were disappearing too. For the people in the know, they were going to get the things to treat the soil to be able to grow. But, you know, it only takes a few hundred or a few thousand people in a city of 500,000 and all that stuff's gone. And imagine going into a city of 5 million and how quickly would that go? So we're starting to see the same thing with the food. You hit it on the head there too, talking about the garden centers getting next. So what are you seeing over there? Are you seeing more holes, if you will, in the garden centers of things plantable, usable to get you
Oh
to grow
yeah.
your own food?
It was weeks ago there. I basically went to the garden centre. I think I just went up there to get some seed potatoes and maybe a couple of bags of compost or something like that. And as soon as I got near it, I just looked at the car park and was like, oh no, everyone's had the same idea as me. And it was rammed. It was absolutely packed. But you know, there's still a lot. Well, there was still a fair bit of stuff there, but I would imagine if I was to go to the garden centre now, yeah, there's probably going to be big gaps and long waits. And yeah, do you know what? I am actually pretty shocked at actually how quickly, you know, I mean, I live in a countryside area, so you know, people are a bit more, you know, aware. You know, but I was shocked at how quickly people actually went right. Da, 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 let's go to the garden centre. You know, I was shocked. I'll give it that. You know, people acted down here pretty quickly, but definitely same thing now. Yeah, all the seed potatoes are gone. A
Mm.
lot of the seeds are gone. All the little young plants that had any, you know, like you say, the ones you could just buy and stick them straight in, they are all gone. Compost is getting short. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same story throughout the world by the look of it.
And with the supply chains of it being just in time, you know, the factories are only ordering for that one particular order from that one, you know, supplier or vendor. So the delays so far have been what, 3 months now? So try to refill that supply chain with everything just in time. It's going to take years to do that, to bring it back up to the way it was. Let's say in a mind experiment, it goes back to the way it was and everything kind of, you know, settles out here through the middle of the summer, and maybe like July, we'll pick a date. For that to get back to the way it was in December is going to take a year, maybe two. So everybody in
Mm.
the illusion that, all the stuff will be back in the stores just after we, you know, are allowed back out of our houses, doesn't work like that.
No, it
Unfortunately, it
doesn't.
doesn't. So the
Doesn't.
realization, and I think that's going to be the catalyst, is the realization that those supply chains of what used to be completely full stores are not going to return in a quick fashion. And I wonder how people are going to handle that, because, you know, the psyche over here is just not really able to handle that. What's happening right now is almost like it's too much for people to even consider that it's happening right now, where they're like, no, it's not happening. So what's going to happen when the stores aren't going to get refilled again for a year or a year and a half? Then what? You know?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, the city folk are gonna freak. The modern city man is the one who's going to be freaking the most, and then there's going to be different adjustment times for everyone else. I mean, one of the things that we have got on our side this year is now nobody's flying. The weather's awesome. Like I can't believe it. Like I'm getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning and it's frosty, but the sun on your back is just beautiful and warm. And I can already see how much better everything's growing. So if everyone's going to be out crazy buying plants and doing all their own growing, this is a really, really good year to do it. Because I actually think if the planes are going to stay out of the sky, the weather's going to be amazing and it's going to be a good growing season. but we just have to see what happens at the end of the year. I think it could potentially get quite dry. Last year, we had a load of rain at the beginning of the year, and then we just had this period. It was just like bang, it just went to this little sort of 2.5 month, 3 month summer we seem to have now. But that period was really hot and really dry. So it could get dry and the water could be an issue. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a good year for all the plants and everything that people are putting out. I think it's a good time for it. And then for the city folk, I don't know. I mean, it's probably a good idea that people learn a bit of self-defense as well. I mean, one thing I can just say right now, which will make all the difference, it's just one little bit of information to make all the difference about self-defense. If you need to protect yourself, don't punch somebody with a closed fist. Use your palm, use your hand. You can do a little experiment. You could literally just tap a piece of wood with your fist and feel how much it hurts, and then tap the same bit of wood with your palm. You'll quickly realize, like, wow, I can really, the palm's really, really tough. So yeah, anybody who's got zero self-defense information, just remember that one thing: never punch, always hit with your palm. Amazing bit of information. You won't break your hand, and then afterwards, your hand will still work, and you can still plant your seeds, and you can still cut, and you can still do what you need to do. Because in these times, if you're not very well or you're injured or something like that, that's gonna suck. You got to be really aware and pay a lot. It's about paying attention, basically. This is what nature makes us do. Nature's screaming at us all the time: pay attention. I love watching these survival programs. There's one called Naked and Afraid, when they sort of drop people out there and they haven't got a lot. I remember seeing one episode. They've been there 10 minutes. They're in the rainforest. It's just started raining. There's heavy clay on the floor. And this guy literally slips down this tiny little 2-foot bank, and then his bone ends up sticking out the side of his leg. And he's been there 10 minutes. Like, it's just like the unawareness.
Ouch.
Just, yeah. But the unawareness of it just blows my mind. You know what I mean? You've been there 10 minutes, you've got no shoes on, it's clay on the floor, and it's raining. It's really, really slippery. Watch what you're doing. There's no rush. You're going to be there for ages.
Yeah, if you do get hurt these days, hospitals are really having a difficult time anyway. Like, you're not going to get the same treatment that you would have even if you have an auto accident. If you think you're going to rock up to the ER and be like, hey, I was whatever, biking accident, you cut your hand with an axe, whatever, it's not going to be the same, even if they'll let you in. Then what? Okay, well, what's your plan B? So you really got hurt, and like, what did the pioneers do at that time? How did people take care of themselves? How did they disinfect wounds? How did they stop bleeding? These are all kind of things that pioneering lifestyle mind frame needs to come back in to think about. Just imagine that stuff's not there for you to use anymore, because it's basically not. It's too choked up, and you could probably get sicker going to some of these places than you would actually from what had happened to you. So yeah, what happens if you break a bone?
Yeah.
You're going to be like the Wild West, where you bite on that piece of wood and they do something.
We might have to get to that. I mean, like, for instance, the modern day plaster cast they put around you, that used to be clay. They used to use clay, and the clay would actually help to remineralize your body as well while you're healing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had to make like a cast, I'd use some clay. But yeah, the disinfecting, obviously, apart from making alcohol, having to make some kind of clay distillery, and then using different fruits or something to make some alcohol or something like that. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, you know what? You've actually reminded me that I need to actually learn a lot more about how to make disinfectants from nature.